Dr. Peter has the added distinction of having worked with two previous Nobel laureates. He has multiple awards under his belt. He is also recognized as a highly cited researcher among 6,000 worldwide in all fields. Our interviewer for today is Yuhang Fang, or as we call her, Joy. She is an ME PhD student and also a current NSAC president. So Joy, over to you now.
Hello everyone, hope you're enjoying this Friday. So today we have Professor Ye in our coffee hour. Welcome, Professor Ye. Professor, since you joined Purdue as faculty in 2005, you have won many awards, great findings, and also have reputation in academia. But actually the whole story starts from the very beginning when you were still a young adult back in 1980s. Like from 1984, when you joined your undergraduate school in Purdue University to 2020, that's actually 36 years. It's kind of a long journey in research. Do you still remember like what first interested you to research of physics?
Oh, that's probably will be back to really my childhood, you know. You know, that's long. I'm interested in physics for a long time. Probably I would say mostly is because I'm in a kind of elite middle schools. It's a famous kind of school, middle school, high school in China. You know, and at that time, just after the Cultural Revolution, so people are selected smart kids. You know. In very like probably like a US the border school where I just live in the school and intensively study all these courses from math, physics, chemistry, and also for literature, English. So then we have a very good physics teachers in our school, and he really taught me for 5 years, you know, middle school, high school together. So that's really motivates me very interested in physics. Yeah, I would say like that. Yeah. So that's why the teacher in junior high school is very important because a lot of kids the interest in science is inspired really in the childhood.
So it's your teacher that inspired you to physics.
Yes, I think you know at that time I remember very clearly, so each class were at the size of probably 40 students, and we always have one representative student, let's say, you know, let's say I was selected, okay, in the physics education, for example, okay. So before the class, I remember very clearly, I always need to go to his office to bring all these instruments, you know, demonstration kind of physics, let's say, or kind of instruments, let's say battery, resistor, or current meter. So that's, you know, and that time I remember it's very intense. It's we are probably like every day. That time we study from Monday to Saturday, and every day we have probably like a 1 hour physics course. So you know, whole week is like a 6 hours course. So that's why every day you need to go to the office, bring all these instruments back to the classroom, set up, and after that you bring back to his office. So I was really diligent doing that for 5 years. So that's why.
You enjoy doing that.
Yeah, I enjoy doing that, and I'm very responsible. Never make a mess up any demonstration or something like that. So that's yeah, and then you even spend some hours, you know, after the school, right after the courses, after school, because any demonstration, as you know, you need to prepare and then make the contact all well instead of let's say something go wrong next day, for example. Yeah, so that's why it was fun. So that's why we spend a lot of time on that. Yeah.
So, like, have you think about being a scientist in the future when you were a child back then?
Yeah, that's true, and it's very different from different country, different culture, and I really think even in the elementary school or in the middle school, I really want to be a physicist, a scientist, even at that time, and part of that reason I think because related with the culture, country. So, back to Cultural Revolution time, right? So nobody, it's a different, very different time, China, compared with today. So you probably CN Yang, right, and Li, right? Yang Li both got a Nobel Prize in physics, and even in I think in the 72, 73, they as broke the barrier between these two countries, U.S. and China. They visited China and got greeted by the president, or a lot of newspaper coverage. At that time, China, there's no doctor. Okay, doctor is degrees later on. So that's why Dr. Yang, Dr. Li seems a very prestigious kind of title, right? So that's why I for some reason, because I'm grow up in a medical doctor, my father, mom are all the medical doctor. So that's why I grew up more like an intellectual kind of family. So that I'm kind of inspired by that. Yeah. So that's why long time ago, I think back, I'm probably in the 10 or 11, 12 years. At that time, I already think physicist is the course to career, basically, right? Yeah.
So what do you think a physics life should look like back then when you were a child?
Oh, once I was a child at that time, probably I just think this is a very respected career, and they can do something, discover the truth of the nature, right, and understand that's probably I think, but I don't expect actually the physics as a physicist, not that easy. Okay, so I remember. Okay, I very remember. Once I studied go abroad in Germany, so I need to spend. I got a very good fellowship. So this fellowship covers me like a half year study German language in the private school, and I able to live with a German family together. Really live with them for like 6 months. That's a long time. So that's why. However, the German family is it's an engineer. So once I say, okay, I need to go to Stuttgart to study physics, then he immediately responds. I still remember. Wow, this is not easy. At that time, even in Germany, people understand the physicist is difficult to be. Usually they pay the less or difficult to find this kind of job. So that's why I say, oh, this is a difficult, it's a very difficult to be as a physicist. But I'll keep going on this road. And eventually, now I'm of course in the double E department, but I still partly do low temperature transport, particularly recently. Yes, yeah.
So after 30 years, like enjoyment and suffering in physics, you still think this is the best job for you?
Yes, as a physics is a very, very interesting, and So although I'm now major actually not promote physics too much, probably here. So, but in my group now I have dozen students, and some of the for the recent one student, I hired him. He graduated from Double E and Peking University. He joined me, and so he started a little bit device fabrication, characterization, even some thermal transport measurement. But then I get some funding. I can able to set up a ultra low temperature, high magnitude lab. Now it's in clean room USC. So I asked him. So I think I may got some funding, to do that. It's not easy to get that amount of money. So then I asked him, if you're really interested to do deep physics, you need to spend 2 years more at Purdue. But then I invest on that. If you're committed, right, set up the lab and do something good work. Actually, I really appreciate. Actually, he really told me, right, he will do it. So don't worry about it. He's really interested. So that's why now his whole thesis may be part of device physics, part of really condensed matter physics, so low temperature transport. So yeah, and he really accomplished all he need to learn. So in 6 years, actually stayed 6 years. Seems a little bit longer, but actually, yeah, I think he appreciated that experience. Also set up a lab, do some really deeper physics work. So, so a student can, really after you did this work, you will understand that, wow, this is really interesting. You see something in nature, how the atom or electron in the atom, what they're doing. That's fun.
Yeah. Finally get rewarded, even though it's kind of painful.
Although it's a long process, always in my case, in terms of research, in my case, and even in this student's case, I think it's still relatively smooth, to get something done, right? Yeah. But it could be struggle very long time. Yeah, that depends.
So you mentioned that your students stayed for 2 years longer to kind of achieve better results. Yes. Actually, I figured out that it seems like you spent around 8 years to finish your PhD back in Germany. I'm not sure whether
that's a yes or no, actually. Okay, so in my resume, because I just finished the bachelor degree, so then I've PhD degree between them is 8 years. Okay, that's true. But my real study in Germany, Max Planck, is just 4 years. Oh. So the reason is complicated. It depends on. I can briefly say that because I was enrolled in the graduate school in China. However, I got to the I got to the prestigious kind of fellowship from Germany. But you have to wait almost 2 years to get really there. So that's a complication because in this particular time there's some politics happened. So that's why then I need a half-year language school, as I mentioned to you. That's why it's in terms of time, it's just But I still appreciate this opportunity. Now I think back, it's no problem really. Stay a little bit longer. Yeah, until get the degree. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but still a long time waiting. Like, what keeps motivate you to wait for the opportunity in Germany and go there? Because it's not easy to work and study.
That's right. But of course the opportunity I got got this Volkswagen fellowship is of course it's extremely good for me at that time, and at that time, and I think end of 80s, beginning of 90s, there's a lot of smart Chinese students want to study abroad. Okay, but however, the magnitude is much smaller than nowadays. Okay, I would say just 1% of nowadays in terms of number. Okay, so that's why it's not that easy. Yeah, so I got this great opportunity. I never regret. So wait a little bit longer. Yeah, that's right.
And your advisor back then is Dr. Klinsing, who is actually Nobel Prize winner.
Yes, he. Yeah, I always, even until now, I still have very close connections or relations with my former advisors, not only Professor von Klinsing and even others. Same thing. So yeah. So and he at that time he probably already a superstar in Germany. Yeah. We all learn quantum mechanics. In the 20s, 30s, 1920s, 30s, a lot of physics is happened in Germany, right? So we need to write scientific papers in German, not in English.
Yeah.
Right? They're published in German, right? So but after the Second World War, all the science center moved to United States, right? So actually in the 60s, Mossberg got the Nobel Prize in physics after 60. So then they have another gap of 20 years. Actually, there's no no Nobel Prize in physics in Germany. So that's why once my advisor got that, he's very young, like 43, got the Nobel Prize. So he's really a superstar in Germany. Everybody almost know him if you read the newspaper. So that's why, yeah. So that's why I very appreciated that opportunity. Eventually, yeah.
How did it feel like working with a Nobel Prize winner?
Yeah, at that time, of course, the Max Planck Institute is a big organization. So the institute that I studied there is called the Max Planck for Solid State Research in Stuttgart. So, and of course, the system is different, and from university. Okay, it's a different, really different. For example, I joined his group at the beginning of the 90s. Okay, you talk about really 30 years ago. Okay, even at that, of course, because he's so famous and he's have all kind of wide spectrum capabilities. I put it this way. So that's why he's we call the Uptylon is a department. Right? His department is a bigger department, so have 50 peoples, and the structure is very different. So US don't have this kind of organization, equivalent organization in general. So like in this department, 50 people, he probably have 10 technicians and probably like 20 research scientists and 10 maybe like associate professor or assistant professor level. But the PhD student actually just have 10. You know, exactly. So that's why, you know, each student, you know, get a lot of attention from the department. You can imagine, right? And the star is not like a US, like a one professor, you know, bigger group, particular. I'm like in my case now, I interact more than 10 PhD students, you know. But at that time, I can really work closely with my, you know, some like a senior scientist, really one-to-one, you know, like mentor-pupil kind of relation. This is still older kind of European style, so in some sense. So that's why, yeah, I learned a lot. I learned directly from some, you know, some senior scientists. Yeah, so yeah, the advisor did talk about the direction and the working, but it's not as close as you know in US case. I put it this way. It's a different structure, you know. Yeah.
You know, like you said, you learned a lot. Is that talking about the knowledge or the working patterns, method?
Yeah, it's also very different, you know, from the US universities. The Germans, they work very serious, okay, on everything. That's I always have so impressed with that. However, they don't over our work. You know, like even my PhD case. Okay, I think I work probably 10 hours a day. Probably 10 hours, around 10 hours a day, and 5 days a week. But the weekend they really don't come to work. Okay, so then they don't encourage these kind of long hours, you know, kind of use the working, you know, time to concentrate the quality. You know, it's different style. Yeah, I put it there. But I should mention. So it's you cannot generalize. That's why I always say, you know, it's interesting to share the experience, but you cannot generalize all the conclusions because this department is a very special department. They have enormous fundings. And if I tell you what the situation in the beginning of the 90s, they probably have 10 MBE systems, and even already start have the e-beam lithography like our Birck had. So my thesis that time is to already make the nanostructures. You know, you think about that's 30 years ago, okay?
Yeah.
So I already make 100 nanometer features. I remember nano patterning, all these. So I get to the clean room training, and at the just I started graduate school basically. So that I like in the clean room. I spend most of the hours in the clean room, and as I said, just 10 PhD students, right? So that's not crowded as our clean room, and the technician is just keep this system, everything perfect running. So I can parallel, I can do 3 times metal deposition a day, and I remember it's a crazy kind of working, but it was fun. Yeah.
So
and the other universities not like this. This is like a national lab, or it's a different style.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like you're working with so many intelligent people, and they also have brilliant ideas. I assume that you will never get stuck in things. Is that the case, or you're still having some difficulty?
It's not the case. Okay, I tell you, although I learned German, within six months, really intense. Okay, learning is called a good institute. Okay, right. And of course, my advisor is very shocked after I first see him speak German with him. Okay, he's because Chinese look like young. Okay, so at that time I'm like 20 in the 20s, look like a child. So that's why first I think I gave him a very deep impression. All of a sudden I can speak some level of German. Okay, and they are very, even now they're proud of me. I'm a very few foreign students at that time can speak decent German. Okay,
wow.
So that's why they're very they like foreign students learn German, but a lot of students are a little bit hesitant because English is a working language, right? So that's what I think. Yeah. So I feel that's what I learned. You need to adapt to the environment is very important. I think. Yeah. And you need to involved in the group, right? Really become part. Hopefully, really become part of the group. So then you will enjoy your working and eventually help each other and.
Oh yeah.
And I feel that's very, very important. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So I think it's working with people and really adapt to the culture. Yeah. That's the most difficult part.
In terms of smart, how intelligent people and ideas. So as I said, in my case, the training is very different. So actually, even before I joined this group, right? Because I'm waiting in China, right? You remember? I still remember my advisor sending me some literatures, right? Then he write a long letter to me, right? Because I ask how I can prepare once I waiting here, everything the process, right? So then he said, okay, because everything topic will be changed with the time. If somebody did that, we will have to change another topic, right? Publish them, you have to change it. And fortunately, actually, this topic is not that easy. And then also not so many people do low temperature physics, right? Okay. So that's why he gave me the topic, a very well defined topic, actually. So then I, after another 2 years, okay, once I start a PhD, I just work on this topic. Then it's a very difficult. Okay, anything is same for every student. I believe it's like the same thing. So it's a very, very difficult, and we cannot solve that problem because some of another effect, because basically much stronger. Let's say it's a prevent you seeing what the effect he wanted to see, but that profound effect is already discovered by other people, already published. So, and they, of course, this is a very leading group. They were not, you cannot graduate if you just stuck on this problem, right? So, and then all of a sudden, and we come up an idea, and that idea even come back to nowadays my research, actually.
Oh.
And because we do ferromagnetic material, okay, and everybody know nickel, cobalt, iron. Okay, and then my senior scientist, okay, realized actually if you study Kittel's condensed matter physics book, then there is a 1 page that tells you what ferromagnetic material is, And in that, there is another element called dysprosium, it's dy. This has the highest magnetization. But why it's not popular? Because this Curie, so-called Curie temperature, is very low. It's at 80 Kelvin, you know. So basically, at the room temperature, it's not a ferromagnetic material anymore. Okay, right? So, but we are doing low temperature physics, so that doesn't matter. So that's the idea come up. So we just try to use a dysprosium instead of use cobalt, nickel, iron, this kind of common material. So then. So that's why idea is the key, right? So then I'm a diligent student. So yeah. We immediately together do it, right? Buy this element, do it. Then in one afternoon, I remember very clearly, because there's some distinguished features, okay? If this effect, if we observe, should be different from this profound, this effect. Okay, there is a phase shift. So that's why I do the experiment, and I found the phase shift. So then I asked him, I think, because there's some other thing, I think, is this the right one? So then he look at it and say, okay, I have a champagne, you know, stay in my office 10 years. We made it we probably should open, we didn't really open the champagne, but at least he believed we found it. Yeah, then in principle, these kind of, particularly in science study, okay, you find it, then you find it. So then, you know, just a half day, really half day, you find it, then another couple of weeks, we'll redo the experiment, and refine the experiment, right condition, and make the effect stronger and stronger. And we really prepare the figures. So then maybe within 2 months or 3 months, we submitted also my first paper, basically physics review letter. So then in 4 months, we are very, very lucky, because this all the community know this effect is important, and it's very difficult to do. And then we publish that paper. So yeah, so that's it. And it's a funny story in my experience. Do you know, we published the physics review letter. So this effect was discovered by 2 groups independently in parallel. Okay. Oh. So we published this paper, you know, page by page, back by page. You know what is another group? Which is another group. The scientist is this Andrew Gam, who discovered the graphene later. Oh wow! So at that time, we are doing the same topic. At that time, he was a postdoc kind of in Nottingham. So that's why you can see some important topic. A lot of group do. So this happened all the time. So you will find you find this, maybe another group also doing the similar things. Eventually, probably, that's happened. Yeah. Especially back then, the communication is not as well as now. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I can still feel the big excitement in your mind back then. But yeah, I'm just thinking, yeah, that's still a very long time waiting. I believe there will be some frustration, depression. So I think during your whole childhood, you're diligent and you're very smart. I think usually you can learn things very fast. And for this experience, it's a long time waiting and repeating the whole thing. How do you deal with maybe the frustration or depression? Oh yeah, that's every student right will be probably experience that, okay, the frustration before you really achieved something, right? So yeah, so in this particular case, so I do have the frustration, because the situation is a little bit different, okay? As I said, you know, at Purdue, let's say, you guys probably don't have too much language issues, because you may find your, you know, like in your case, you may from China, let's say, or from Taiwan. So you may find a Chinese student, your senior student, you can ask that, you know what it means, right? But in my case, it's not actually. You know, I'm the only Chinese student, you know, in this 50 people in this department, right? Then and it's true in the clean room, you know, acetone, propanol, you know, IPA, or so many things, right? And then, okay, English, between Chinese, English, German, right? They're even different language. So I really, at the beginning, I really puzzled, and it's really difficult, okay? Because the German technician teach taught you teach you how to do that, but really you understand probably 50%, okay? And I tend to not. Right? Then actually you really don't exactly understand, okay? Because you have the ratio, let's say etching gallium arsenide, you need 8:3:1, right? And you need the H2O2. Let's say all these mixes, and this is too much info. If you never learned that in China, I never worked in clean room, and it's really challenging. But eventually I have to smell these chemicals, and some chemical maybe not healthy, right? I have to smell the chemicals, then I start to understand what's
inside.
acetone, methanol, and then I started translate the English, Chinese, then I digest. So it's difficult. And the joke is now I visited back to Stuttgart. Some of my older colleagues now, or either in industry or academia right nowadays. So we think back, they're always joking with me. Or you need to learn at Max Planck is just the 10 German word because we just code down the sample like a pump and pull up, warm up. So that's a joke. That's the common language we need to use. Yeah. It's all fun in different country and learn all different stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but you finally made it.
I think I made it, and that's always interesting, right? After 2 years, I said in one afternoon, I really finished what we want to observe. So then what really done, right? After the publication, so then, like our students, right? So, we're all go to the conference, right? Then it's done. Yeah. Then we of course do more detailed studies. Then you'll finish it.
But so after your PhD in Germany, you moved to the US actually. What was the plan back then?
As I said, so just like my the language host said, right? So after finishing the PhD, actually then getting the hard part, you need to find a permanent job, okay? So as a physicist, it's a very different like engineer, okay? So like my students nowadays in W department, of course, Purdue is famous, and we have a lot of industry connection. So for them, it's so easy to find a job. You find an Intel, IBM job, okay? So, but my case is not as a physicist. Then then start a long struggle because So then I need to do postdoc, and as a physicist at that time, if you ask them if you can find a permanent position, it means a lot. So you are settled for your life, right? So then later, like I still remember once in Oxford. I went to Oxford to conference, and I found a job in Bell Labs. Right. So then the people ask me, "Is this a permanent position?" And I said, "Yes, in principle." Why? Actually, Bell Labs is at the front. It's not in very good, stable condition. So that's why, But if you find that job, for them, it's a lot for physicists. Yeah. For engineer, join the company, a permanent job is quite common. Right, where everybody find a job. So, but for physicists, sometimes it's hard. So that's why you can see a lot of physicists, or maybe biologists, the same thing, mathematics. They change the different schools here, there for the short-term kind of positions. and eventually find a permanent.
This was actually not the story in my mind when I was reading your resume, because it seems like you went to Princeton and then Bell Labs, and also you work with another Nobel Prize winner. I thought you were just like maybe following those big names and working with brilliant people.
Yes, I pursued the famous scientists, that's true. But part of that, I think after my PhD, definitely, as a physicist, that definitely, or low temperature physics, definitely the career path is you have to do at least once postdoc, sometimes you need to do twice postdoc, right? The period like it's a very common 4 years, 5 years postdoc in our business is very common. So then, if you are lucky, you may find an assistant professorship in the university. But even that is a very challenging. It depends on the topic, okay? For example, if you do quantum dots, you do this, that at that time, it's very difficult to find even a assistant professorship. It's in the university because it's not a hot topic anymore, right? So, but now, for example, all of a sudden everybody start quantum computing. Actually, what they are really looking for is exactly some of the skill I learned, 20 years ago. Okay, wow. But if you all know all these things now, probably it's easy to find a job. Okay, so that's always a change, right? Change with the time. So for the young student, it's a difficult to balance. You pursue all these hot topics, or it's better is you do some code not so hot topics, and once you graduate that time, this particular topic becomes so hot. That's probably the luckiest. If you now it's very hot, then you join this, then after another 5-6 years, we never know, right? So that's it.
So back in Princeton, you were working with Dr. Cui, who is another Nobel Prize winner. Like, you have worked with 2 Nobel Prize winners. Do you see anything in common between them?
Of course, both of them have a great achievement, and both of them have a very kind of a unique vision. Okay, not only in physics, even in science, and even in human society. I actually, as I told you, I do have a still close relation with them. So sometimes now, of course, I'm a professor also now, so I learn from them. They usually share some of their opinion, right? Their vision with me. Of course, both of them are really bright, but the personal character is very, very different. And very, very different, So like my PhD advisor, because he's in Germany, and he called Fang, Fang is the Nobel family, right? Fang in Germany is all the Nobel family. Like his family has a castle in Poland, actually, before it's part of Germany, now it's becoming Poland. Okay, so it's a very different, but my postdoc advisor, Daniel Cui, because he originated from China, right away, probably, and so he's from a very poor family, and, supported by Christian church, and eventually study very hard, and in United States, make his career such a successful. So that's why it's a very, personality, of course, is a very different. But both of them, I learned a lot from that. Yeah. So yeah. It's a very different. But all they have a very unique vision, and I think this one thing for both of them I learned is of course you need a smart, you need to work hard. All these are basic, but of course it's a physics study, so the simplest is the most beautiful ones. Okay, so and we just wanted the simplest things. Okay, most of the simplest things is the most important things. Okay, like we are struggling with a lot of puzzles, and make the whole story is very complicated, right? And it looks like we're busy on this, that. All these it's not the fundamental, okay? Just very complicated, yeah. So maybe it's okay. Research have different levels, but I learned from them. You need hopefully you can have some simplest understanding, and eventually this understanding is important and fundamental, yeah.
So you mentioned that they both have a Euro vision. Do you think those visions can be developed by like a proper training, or those are kind of born by nature?
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I'm far below their achievement. Okay, but I'm also getting senior. So I just share with the young student. I think the understanding, yeah, every person is unique. So that's why try to copy people's success is very difficult. In other way, everybody can have a successful career, successful life. Success, what means successful is also by definition, okay? Everyone, I think happy, healthy, and hopefully you contribute to the society more than you obtain from the society. You should be regarded as a successful life. So that's why you don't try to copy the Nobel Prize winner in research. That's you can admire, but you are very difficult to really copy that. And it's everybody, everything are changing with the time. Yeah, it's very difficult, right? For example, semiconductor physics. Best time maybe in the 80s, right? So scaling, now everybody talk about the Moore's law, end of the Moore's law, but maybe there's new opportunities, yes or no, right? So then we are working on these hard problems, but we never knew it will be all of a sudden so great, right? Or we are just struggling, right? So that's. But once you are make a step by step. Forward for your PhD studies and eventually have a good career, right? Good life. I think that's already accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right. Everybody's unique, and the success.
Everybody is unique, and you cannot, and the definition of the success sometimes is also quite dangerous, huh? So everybody wants a billionaire. That's impossible, right? Everybody's billionaire. So that's why. So yeah. So I think healthy, happy, and you can do some contribution to the society. Okay, and instead you take for free, right, from your parents, from right, yeah. So then should be regarded as a successful career, life, doesn't matter. Yeah.
You joined Purdue in 2005 and became a faculty. That's kind of like a permanent job. Like, does the faculty life sounds like the same as you expected?
I think I really appreciate Purdue indeed. Okay, so I have been here 16 years. This is because although I worked on with all these, I did have lucky and get among the best education, doesn't matter in China or in Germany, here. So yeah, but Purdue really gave me this platform, okay, to can be do something I'm interested. I really enjoyed actually this faculty position job. So although it's a challenge, everybody, you have the advisor, the challenges are always there. But I think, first of all, it's a fantastic department, so you really, most of the time, you really can concentrate on your research, okay, in my case. I appreciate actually even the whole department, doesn't give me a lot of job, let's say a job what I'm not good at, okay, right? For example, I can feel, okay, but I enjoy the research, interact with students. I spend a tremendous time interact like the student in my group. So then, get to the things moving. So yeah, so this is very unique. And also I'm lucky because once I come to Purdue, this so-called atomic layer deposition. this technique become hot, and I kind of pioneered actually use this technique, glow dielectric on 3-5 material at the Bell Labs gear system that time. So that's why once I come in here, that time, right, 2004, 2000, so people are not so familiar with this technique. Not like nowadays, it's very popular, right? Actually, this technique is relatively simple, and so that's why I applied that technique very well in my research. So, and that topic become hot actually. So that's why once I beginning my career at the Purdue that time, of course I got a lot of help from my colleague, particular senior colleague like Professor Landstrom, Professor Alam, all these, right? So but I'm not struggle with the funding so much because of their help, okay? Others help. So I, now I try to interact with some junior faculty, for example, at Purdue, and I try to help also, okay? But I can feel I was really lucky at that, because the topic itself, because I pioneered and the topic becomes so important, become one of the major focus of the industry at the 2005 to 2010 time. So that's why I still have, at least I have funding to run and can grow. Yeah.
You mentioned that you enjoy like interacting with students, but I believe like students are kind of innocent when they come to the university. You not only need to instruct them with knowledge, but sometimes they might get like frustrated. They don't believe in what they work. I believe it's difficult to work with students than those well-trained researchers. What do you think?
I totally agree with you. So sometimes I joking, right? I say that's why we are well paid. Okay, so because the reason you interact with the students, educate the students, get a PhD degree, right? So it's a very complex job. Okay, so each student from different culture, right? From different country, and it's so different. Okay, and even individual is so different, right? So. And a lot of work, of course, it's very repeated. Okay, for example, maybe you can say for me it's boring. For example, for the electronic device, mostly it's a contact and a dielectric to semiconductor interface. Okay, I always say these two things. Okay, whatever. Okay, you're doing. So then how to make a good contact, and then a lot of things is repeated basically, right? Particularly first year, second year is repeated. So. And I think our job, okay, since I talk with a lot of young students here, if they're either in the audience or listen to this video, I just share with the Purdue students. I think my philosophy, probably I'm not that strict. Okay, my philosophy is I want you happy to come to Purdue and happy to leave Purdue. Okay, I always say that. Okay, so because every student are excited, oh, I joined Purdue, particular overseas student, international student, right? That's excited coming, and sometimes everything will never perfect, right? Nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
Well, never. So then sometimes you are frustrated, disappointed, but at least, okay, I try my best to make you also happy to leave, okay, right? Graduate, find a good job, you are happy to leave. Then this 4-6 years at the Purdue is a good memory, right? So instead of you are just think it's struggling in research, yeah. But that's why, in my case, as an advisor, actually, the criteria, I have to say, honest to say, okay, the criteria for each student, I'm not the same, okay, I have to say. I have the baseline, but not the same. So if you are really frustrated or you have your own problems sometimes, so then I just try to, push you, graduate, right? Get to the basic things done.
Yeah.
If you are good, I try to make you very good. If you are very good, I try to make you excellent. Okay, right? If you are excellent, then I give you 3 topics at the same time. So right, whatever. So it happened. Okay, I have like one student. now he is a very successful faculty in now it's in Peking University. So he probably get like 20 to 25 journal papers as published within 4.5 years. So because he is really good at do everything. So then I gave him a lot of topics. So so that's why it depends. Yeah.
I think after you saying this, your students will be very happy because they know that the reason they are so busy is because you think they're very good.
Yeah, that may be. Yeah, but everybody has it's so different, and that's why I think it's so complex. It's so different. Now some people want to graduate early, right? But not everyone in my group. Some people just they don't worry about these things too much.
Oh.
And so different. Yeah, you have to be hopefully you can, but then not everybody are really happy. For example, right? That's all kind of reasons, right? Sometimes maybe topic is too difficult. Sometimes you maybe didn't spend enough time, or sometimes yeah, that's very complex.
Sometimes get frustrated to continue and then don't spend enough time.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're approaching the end of the interview. I think last questions. So like looking back of your whole journey, what characteristic like personality in you do you think is the most important that support you to have this long journey and a success?
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much we already talked about at the beginning, right? So I think number one, I probably think about the three important, share with the young student. I think one is you need to really have the passion on research, okay?
Yeah.
Right. So that's so important, the passion, okay, right? Because if you are very creative, maybe help, okay, for eventually the research, okay. But I think the passion, you are really motivation. That's the key. That's why if you have some frustration time, maybe you can overcome, okay, not to become really, as you mentioned, depression. Like this is a pandemic time, right? People need to be careful, right? Okay. Anyway, so I think the passion itself is important. Second, I think you really need to work hard, spend enough time at least, okay? So some people smart, right? But particularly in our case, experimentist, or you need to really spend time in clean room and do enough work. Otherwise, you cannot learn these skills, okay? And so that's hard work. And sometimes the third part, probably even more important, particularly in research, okay? These first and the second part, I'm sure if you get that, I'm sure you will successfully get your PhD at Purdue, and you are okay, right? But sometimes if you want to really become a superstar, right? So I think, particularly in the research, sometimes the luck is also play some roles, okay? So that, right? So some topic, right? Some ideas all of a sudden come into you. So then you may really solve the problem in one afternoon, right? So that's, yeah. So I think these three things are all important and plays in the different ways rules for for different people, yeah.
I think some students might ask themselves in mind that they think that they really want to have the passion like you do, and they hope they can spend enough time, but there are always things happen. They get frustrated and they did not have the passion and they don't spend enough time. So do you have some suggestion for them to conquer those problems?
Okay, I think yeah, if as I said, all the people have different characters, right? So if you struggle at this first two, right, and then okay, so then I think so. Maybe, okay, I think that you need a more integrated with the whole group, okay? So more, you may not solve the topic what your advisor wants, right? You may help other people. By the interaction with the whole group, maybe sometimes you also accumulate some of the results and get to some of the level, right? So then your advisor or your lab mates can help you finish your PhD, right? So
That's an interesting will.
Yeah, so that you can do like a publication, right? So there's no clear definition, right? You can be leading author, you can be second author, third author, right? If you help other people, sometimes the other people will help you too, right? So then you may get to the enough amount of work you have done Purdue, then you move you forward, right? Yeah.
So on the other hand, what do you think is the common mistakes young people are making that inhibit them from their dreams, like the success in their mind?
That's a good question. Okay, I also have some kind of experience I really want to share with the young people. So the common mistake is you not appreciate what you have now. Okay. You are thinking about something else, even much better in your imagination. Okay, for example, okay, this is common typical case. Okay, once you may come to Purdue, okay, then you think about maybe another, Ivy League or another university or another famous professor or maybe a Nobel Prize winner. Okay, if I work in his group or her group, maybe my life will be much easier or much better. All right, so I tell you that's totally not true. Okay, I know the engineer. For example, our Birck Center, our clean room, or at least this infrastructure, we are good, so good. We're even better than these big name schools. Okay, so it's enough for help you finish your PhD. Okay, I don't think. Then second now happened. The student coming Purdue, let's say. They say, okay, wow, the microelectronics, like my field, right? This nano electronics. They say, okay, oh, this is not a hot topic anymore because this is the end of Morse law, and now look like a quantum, everything need to do software, right? Computer science become important, hot, right? So then I should move to, shift to computer science, and now then at least I maybe more salary if I graduate or something like that. So then this is dangerous. This is let you struggle 2 years, 3 years on this kind of that. Sometimes if you really did the clean choice, okay, then maybe you're still okay. But the problem is you struggle 2 or 3 years, eventually really hurt your study, research, even because you are not motivated anymore, right? Then you are taking all these added to some, let's say, computer science course, and but I think any area, if you do well, there's always opportunity there. Okay, some do difficult, but as in my case, physics may be difficult, but a lot of people are still very successful, right? So that's the case. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the vast lessons. I think people all enjoy.
There's a lot of things I usually just with my graduate student, but
so we're lucky.
And what to say, just my personal opinion. Okay, not to have don't try to generalize. Okay, so other faculty have different visions maybe. Okay, but I just share with you what I think.